Come.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Shruti. Please take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
So, if you want, you feel more comfortable without the mask, then you can take it off. So, Shruti, your father is an architect.
Yes, sir.
You have no interest in architecture?
Sir, I do like looking at buildings and understanding things, but as a profession,
No. But history also, I think there is a bit of architecture which goes into that.
Yes, sir.
So, tell me this: what is this central vista? The way it's being laid out and planned. What value do you think it will add to Delhi in terms of its architecture and town planning?
Yes, sir. So the Central Vista has been planned as a redesigning of the space around the parliamentary building and the secretariats. The main reason for the replanning is certain spatial problems that the area has in terms of a lack of space, and those buildings were made in a certain time period, sir. And a long time has passed since then, and due to those reasons, that step is being taken. At the same time, there is also an attempt to redesign a place in a new architectural sort of layout. So that can also be a positive step, sir.
So this new architectural layout, what exactly does it kind of represent?
Sir, I'm not very aware about the details and the designing of this.
Okay, fine. Actually, tell me one thing. This global gender gap, there is a report which is brought out by some agency. Which agency brings it out?
Sir, the World Economic Forum.
So what is it? Is it an intergovernmental body? Is it?
So it is an international body. I'm not aware if it is a intergovernmental body per se or.
So what do you mean by international body?
So I think it has international countries as well as other organizations as members that may not be necessarily state actors.
But are some governments also members?
Sir, I'm not aware about the compositions.
Okay, so what is you are aware of their latest report and India's ranking in it?
Sir, I don't remember the exact ranking.
Okay, so but it has come down by some 28 positions, isn't it?
Yes.
What does it show?
So since independence, I believe, sir, the position of women has continuously increased and has become better in certain ways, I do believe, sir. At the same time, certain gaps do exist in the economic, social, as well as educational realm and in political representation, which is shown through the gender gap, sir. And these differences between the position of men and women is something that we do need to work on. And the gender gap index is an indicator of the steps that we need to take forward in this direction, sir.
How do you see that it is an indicator of the steps that we need to take? Can you just tell us how exactly is this arrived at? What is the basis of this indexing?
So in terms of the methodology used in the index, I'm not aware about the specific indicators, but I do think that the very index and the fact that we have gone down 28 steps is the point where we should come in and try to increase representation of women, say in the parliament from the current 14% to more. The gender gap index also in terms of income is around 27% according to the IMF in terms of wage gap between men and women. So these are certain areas where certain steps definitely can be taken. So the very idea that we have gone down 28 steps should be a clarion call for us to do more.
No, this is a good point which you are making. Of course, one can also wonder that how accurate is this index if in 1 year it falls, a country like India is a big country, falls 28 position. It shows certain weakness probably in the index itself. And we see very often that we don't agree with the way the indices are built. But are you aware broadly what are the four factors which they take into account?
Um, Sir, I
You
haven't
actually
read.
mentioned a couple of them.
Yes.
It's about access to resources, and I think political empowerment is one, and economic, space in economic activity is another. But there are, okay, forget about what they do. If you have to measure, what else would you take into account?
Um, So apart from economic indicators and wage gap, apart from political representation, I think educational status is
Good.
one that needs to be taken into account.
Good.
Social position, although it's hard to quantify that in terms of an index and a numerical number, is certainly one thing that needs to be taken into account, and the presence of women in the public space. So,
Okay.
the visibility of women in the public space.
Now, isn't the political representation in some way capturing this?
Yes, sir. Sir, I do believe.
What
but
about health?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
Health,
you.
health is
Health is a very, very important part, especially
indicator.
the maternal mortality rate.
So, if you have to take health as an indicator, forget about this index. Just tell me, as an administrator, if you have to advise somebody to take health also as an indicator, what way will you suggest that this is the way we can measure health?
Sir,
think and answer.
So, with specific reference to women, sir?
Yeah.
So, starting from the entire lifeline of a woman, so right from the early age, I believe rates of female feticide are one. Secondly, the malnutrition rates among women, girl children and male children. The differences between that can be an indicator. Malnutrition rates are known to be greater among girl children because of the preference that is given to male child over certain things like milk or eggs which come into the household. Thirdly, sir, is the case of anemia, and anemia rates, in fact, according to the NFHS survey, have gone up rather than coming down with respect to women. So anemia is a major case. Maternal mortality rate, although has come down in the NFHS 5 data, but certain states it's very alarming, especially Assam and Uttar Pradesh.
Excellent. I think you have given a very good reply, I should say. Now, this is going to be my last subject or topic that I am going to touch. And you tell me what is happening in Sri Lanka. What is this crisis, and what are its drivers? What led to this crisis?
Yes, sir. So, the Sri Lankan economic crisis is very extreme at this point, and I recently read that even exams are being cancelled because of the lack of paper. So it's a very, very extreme state. The reasons for it have also been therefore gradual and have accumulated over time. Firstly, sir, is its massive debt burden at that point, and that also has been due to a lot of factors. One of them being the extreme debt dependency on countries like China. Secondly, sir, tourism is a major source of income for the Sri Lankan economy, and the COVID pandemic also had a major impact on that source of income. Then thirdly, sir, certain policies that the government has taken have also been faulty on a domestic level, such as the policy decision to have only organic food in the country. So that brought down the productivity and the economy of the country. The forex reserves have also gone down, and it's a very import-dependent country at this point. So these are a variety of reasons why I feel the economic situation.
You made very good points, and So this policy decision to kind of have only organic food in India, also there are quite a lot of people who tend to argue that the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and all these things should be completely stopped. Uh, they go one step further, and also they say that no GMO should be introduced. Would you be inclined to agree with them, or you don't agree with them, or agree partially with them?
Sir, I do think that chemical fertilizers and excessive use of pesticides in the long run does have a deleterious impact, not only on the health of the people but also the farmers, and also leads to decreasing productivity of the soil in the long run, as can be seen in Punjab recently. So the step towards organic is definitely a positive step, but I do think it should be gradual and rather than being sudden. And other factors should also be taken into account in terms of productivity, and alternative research should also be done on it. So I think it should be a step-by-step decision, and Sikkim has been a very positive example of the first organic state, but small steps in the long run can be a better way to go forward.
Good, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, Shruti, I'm quite delighted to learn that you are from the same school as I studied, Sardar Patel School. Huh?
Yes.
How did you find the school?
I had a very positive experience in the school.
Did you learn some Gujarati? Huh?
So I had a lot of Gujarati food. I couldn't learn Gujarati language.
Because during our time, till class 8, Gujarati was compulsory. So we started learning and reading and writing Gujarati. So it was a good culture. But anyway, good. I think it's a very nice upbringing in that school. Now, coming from Hindi, mathematics, social science, and economics background, you suddenly switched over to history in your BA honors. Why so? Why did you stick to the subjects which you had already specialized in the school?
So, in my 11th and 12th, I took humanities as my specialization. So, I did study history in my 11th and 12th. And it was during those years, 11th and 12th specifically, that my interest in history grew due to my teachers and due to my love for the subject, which made me take it forward in my graduations.
I see that, in the choice of preferences, you have chosen IAS as number one preference. Can I know the reason why IAS? Why not IPS? Why not IFS? There are other services also very good. And you must have seen the recent article by Dr. Subbarao. I don't know whether you have gone across, which says that IAS has failed the nation. It's a much talked about article which has come only last week. It was headline, which our Governor RBI, the ex-Governor RBI had written that IAS has failed the nation. What are your views on the IAS?
So firstly, I have not gone through that particular article, but sir, I do think that every institution can have certain procedural problems and certain hurdles that it comes across. But at the same time, there is a reason why it is called the steel frame of our country. And personally, sir, the reason why I wanted to pursue the administrative services specifically as my first choice was there are a variety of reasons. The first being that I always wanted to be part of something where I could directly serve the people in some capacity, sir. Secondly, sir, the diversity that this job offers, and on a personal level, the experience and the vast source of learning that this diversity can lead to into my personal growth was a factor that made me choose the services, sir.
You have been born and brought up in Delhi. Can you tell me what are the problems of a common man in Delhi that you must have also experienced?
Yes, sir. So Delhi is a wonderful city, but it comes with certain problems as well. The first being that is much talked about is the pollution, which has especially increased in the last 5-6 years. Secondly, sir, is the problem of traffic that we sometimes come across, especially at certain choke points. So that is an issue. Thirdly, sir, I would say, although it has gradually improved due to the continuous conversation about it, is the issue of women's safety. So these are three things that I would like to.
So what difference as an IAS officer can you make? Suppose you are posted to Delhi and as district collector, how do you propose to go about it to handle these challenges?
Yes, sir. So firstly, with respect to pollution, I think it's not a one-step approach or a one-solution approach, as can be seen in other countries who have successfully tackled pollution as well. It has taken multiple years. It has taken 5 to 6 years and a concerted action plan on all fronts. So certain steps are being taken, such as technological in terms of smoke towers. Along with that, especially in the case of Delhi, considering the sources of pollution, which especially are stubble burning. So cooperation with other states is also important. So the recent commission that has been formed, the Air Commission, with involvement from other states is a positive step. Awareness of the people in terms of reducing vehicular pollution and encouraging public transport, which is being done through the electric vehicle policy and increased buses, is a positive step. So I think a step-by-step approach on all fronts can tackle pollution. So secondly, with respect to traffic, there again, there are certain problems. I personally believe that the choke points where traffic happens is also because of delayed construction projects that have missed 7 to 8 deadlines, and the work is still going on slowly. So ramping up those specific construction projects where great traffic bottlenecks are, and a lot of traffic is also there, and footfall is greater, should be specifically targeted. Then this is one specific thing that comes to mind, sir. And with respect to women's safety, certain steps have already been taken by the current government in terms of reducing dark spaces. But I think overall, an environment where women are out in the public spaces more, there is greater transit-oriented development, where women transportation, I think, is the foremost step which must be taken so that women can travel at any hour safely. So the step about women marshals in the buses is a positive step, and more such steps should be taken, including the Delhi Metro. So I think transportation can be a major way in which women's safety can be put at the forefront.
But very good. I mean, the only thing is that, there are plethora of studies, documentation on each of these aspects. Several commissions, experts, authors, academicians, they have written about it and studied and analyzed. But all those reports are gathering dust somewhere. And considering that the government in the center is that of BJP, the state in the Delhi, the Union Territory, it is AAP, as you know. Now, how do you actually balance the two as a bureaucrat? That you have certain directions flowing from the government of India, certain directions flowing from the local government. So how do you balance the different ideologies?
Yes, sir. So Delhi is a certain unique example where it is the national capital territory of India, as well as a state in a certain respect in its own regard. So a balance must be struck between both fronts. But at the same time, police, apart from police, land and public order, certain decisions do lie with the state government as well. So I think the spaces for work are clearly defined by the constitution, and following that, sir, would be my utmost priority.
Great. I'll just take you away from your other academic activities and all. Let me just concentrate on the extracurricular activities which interest me, is that exploring world cinema you have written. Huh?
Yes.
So this is very heartening, that you are also interested in exploring world cinema. What is this world cinema about? What were you doing in this area?
So, sir, I believe that cinema, apart from the medium in which dialogues are spoken, has also a vocabulary of its own. And if we look at cinema from, say, Iran or Korea or Hong Kong or India, and I feel there is a commonality of topics. The filmmaker's craft itself does not know any languages. So exploring that and looking at the commonality of interest, as well as it being an insight into different cultures, is what especially fascinates me about world cinema.
Have you ever tried to make a movie of your own? Did you ever try your hand at that? Some documentary or something?
So the only time that I was part of such a project was in school, where we were filming a small film about the school. But personally, sir, I have not tried my hand at it.
But now, just looking at what your world cinema interest is, do you think with so much of plethora of channels coming up, private channels in the country, and the freedom of expression is already there, enshrined in the constitution, is there any need for the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting now in the country? Why should we have a ministry? Because people are free to, air their views and everything. So why should we have a Ministry of Information Broadcasting?
So while it is great that we have a diversity of interests, and this diversity can be seen in the different platforms that have also come up, such as OTT platforms as well. At the same time, sir, I do believe that a certain regulation is needed for the industry as well, in terms of safeguarding certain rights. And the Article 19 of the Constitution itself says that the freedom of expression also has certain, can also be bound by certain restrictions as well, reasonable restrictions, sir. And there are certain problems also associated, especially in terms of regulation of children content, which the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting does regulate. It recently has also brought about, in conjunction with the MeitY, guidelines for the OTT platforms, sir. So I think those needs still remain, and in fact only increase with the increasing content and the freedom of expression's expansions.
Excellent. Thank you, Shruti.
Thank you, sir.
Shruti, have you heard about this Ram Setu?
Yes.
Is it man-made or it is natural?
So I haven't read any specific research papers on the Ram Setu per se, but I do think that it is a natural body, which some people also assume to be man-made.
So now, just like Panama Canal and Suez Canal, navigation would be easier if we are able to pass through this area, and that was the project initiated by government sometimes back, and that would reduce a lot of navigation time, just like Suez Canal is able to do it when we are coming from Europe to Indian Ocean. So why did it stop?
Sir, I believe certain religious sentiments are associated with that structure. So recognizing that was probably
So
recent.
sentiments are important, or the economic development is important?
Sir, I believe in a country as vast as ours, different opinions and different facets need to be balanced with each other. So while economic development is very, very important for the progress of a nation, at the same time, the possible repercussions of certain steps need to be taken into account, and only after that a wholesome decision needs to be taken in terms of alternatives that can also be proposed.
A rational decision can be overruled by an emotional decision or a religious decision or a certain mythological decision, because majority people believe in it, or it will hurt the sentiments of people.
No, sir. Sir, in that case, I do believe that should be
So
given
now you're
utmost
changing
merit.
your stand.
Sir, I am not changing my stand, I would say, sir. I believe that all aspects of any decision should be fully explored, and only after that,
So
seeing.
suppose you are supposed to take a decision. What decision would you take? You are the say Home Secretary of India, or you are the Cabinet Secretary, and you are being asked to give an advice. What should you do for the country? I'll make it very simple. Yes and no. So would you go in favor of the rational decision in terms of economy, or whether you go with the sentimental decision that it will hurt the religious sentiments of the majority of people?
Sir, if it has been ascertained that that is the
There's
only
no
way.
different but. I'm giving a binary choice, digital choice, 0 or 1, yes or no. Okay, I'll give you another hypothetical example. You're the collector of a district, and poor, illiterate villagers feel that the lady is a witch.
Yes.
And as per their rituals, they've tied up that lady and want to kill her by stoning, because they think that evil is being wrought by this lady. A lot of people are dying. Epidemic has come up and things like that. And you're the collector of the district. So, trying to save that lady would involve maybe facing a riot, maybe firing, use of force. So, what would you do? You will go by the majority, not hurt their sentiments, or will you go by the rational logic and save that women at the cost of killing 2 people, 2 villagers?
Sir, at that point, the woman's safety would be my concern.
No, you might have to kill 2 women who are trying to kill her. So it is 1 versus 2.
Sir, it is not a matter of a number per se, but as an act of self-defense and in opposition to resistance, if that happens, sir. So that would be very unfortunate, but the woman's safety would be my concern.
Thank you. We talk about, you are a student of history.
Yes, sir.
So we have been speaking about Indus Valley civilization.
Yes, sir.
Would it not be appropriate to call it a Saraswati civilization now in terms of recent excavations and developments? Why should it be called Indus Valley only?
So there is again diverging debate and contesting historians' view on this point. The Indus specifically and the existence of the Saraswati has also been talked about by various historians and archaeologists.
Okay. For that matter, let's say Harka Ghana civilization.
Yes, sir. So it is also sometimes referred to as the Ghaggar Hakra. Yes.
So I'm not using the word mythological Saraswati river, but Harka is there. These 2 rivers are there.
Yes, sir. So the Indus Valley civilization is usually used to refer to it because it was one of the first names given to it. But other people do refer to it by other names as well, sir.
Are there more Indus Valley sites which were not in the now so-called Pakistan, now Pakistan, but more are there discovered in India now? Which are those?
Sir, according to me, the Rakhigadi archaeological excavations have recently happened, which have determined it to be a larger site as compared to Mohenjo-daro. Yes. Yes.
So that is why the focus now shifts towards India rather than saying.
Yes.
Okay, what is Brahmanization? Is there a word called Brahmanization? You are a student of sociology also, you have taken admission in sociology.
Yes, sir. So I've recently just taken my admission in sociology, so I'm not very aware about the academic meaning of this term, sir.
Okay, what is a Rosetta Stone?
So sorry, sir, I'm not aware about Rosetta Stone.
Do you believe in Arya Aryan migrant theory, migration theory, or we were indigenous people? Now there is a debate going on that a lot of people say that Max Muller and others were wrong, and we just didn't migrate from anywhere. We were born here. And any scientific DNA evidence to prove or not prove it, counter prove?
Yes, sir. So the Aryan migration theory has been proved by certain scholars in the past. The contestation is about how that migration happened, and was it in waves or was it in a single form. So recently there has also been a book by Tony Joseph called Early Indians, which has changed the chronology of that migration. And at the same time, it does say that Aryan migration was there, but at the same time, more than 60 to 65% of the DNA was of the out of Africa variant and DNA class as well. So there is a lot of contestation happening in the scholarly sphere about this. But I do believe that the Aryan migration did happen. The time period and the nature of it can differ.
Neo-nationalism.
Yes.
A lot of people are trying to say that no, we were born in India only, we were Indians and we didn't migrate. And this is the Western theory which is being thrust upon us, Aryan racial supremacy.
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe the rewriting and relooking at history has always been a part of the discipline of history writing. At the same time, I do believe that any such discussion should happen on certain sources and the sources that history as a discipline recognizes. So as long as the backing of sources is there, I do believe discussion is
so are
necessary.
there attempts to rewrite history nowadays? So,
Yes,
you
sir.
just mentioned about that.
Yes, sir. But I do believe that is an ongoing process and not specific to today's age, sir.
Okay, one last question. You're from Delhi.
Yes, sir.
Must have been to Red Fort.
Yes, sir.
Red Fort has got two gates.
Yes, sir.
One is called Delhi Gate. What is the other gate called?
Sir, I'm not aware of the name.
Forget about it. You have interest in films.
Yes, sir.
Who made the first film in India? You born in cinema, but Indian cinema also you do. Who made the first film in India?
Sir, I seem to forget right
Which
now.
is the best, highest prize in films in India given to?
Sir, I believe the Dada Saheb Phalke Award.
So he made the first film.
Okay, yes. Thank you, sir.
Shruti,
Yes, sir.
continuing from the discussion about history being written,
Yes.
why it is important that history should be written again and again on the same topic?
Sir, history, according to me, is based on certain sources as well as a certain viewpoint as to how we look at sources. So, how historiography has evolved over time. We have sometimes had the same sources, but the way of looking at it has changed from Western historiography to later nationalist historiography to Marxist historiography, where the factors change to economy. To later subaltern historiography, where the point of view of looking at history was from the point of view of the marginalized. So the way of looking at history.
In the recent past, have you noticed some shift in the choices of the sources among the historians in the last 2 decades?
Yes, sir. I do believe there is a shift towards oral histories in the recent time period, sir, and
struggle you're talking about, oral history.
yes, sir, and ancient and religious
So
scriptures
are
and myths,
Are
sir.
they using secondary sources also nowadays more than the primary sources?
Yes, sir. In certain cases, we can see.
Can you take an example of some historians who uses more frequently secondary sources?
So, with respect to historians, I can't think of some.
Now you tell me, as a student of social science, what is happiness index? And what parameters it
So the concept of happiness index comes from the idea that merely economic growth is not the indicator of true success of any country. So with respect to its parameters, I'm sorry, sir, I can't recollect.
Okay. Have you heard about self-help group?
Yes, sir.
So, how it helped in certain states in bridging the gaps, as you were talking about gender gap, as you were talking about women empowerment, as examples of Indian subcontinent. Can you talk about it?
Yes, sir. So two specific states where self-help groups have brought about a rapid change and a transformative change in the lives of women specifically is Kerala